Alright, shocker. Welcome to the Season 6 Release Patch Breakdown. Main major changes. There's a new PvE mode called Adventure Mode. The differences are no player collision, no PvP or friendly fire, and gear drops are maxed at epic tier. And yes, you do get to keep the gear, so you can use PvE mode now to farm for the other modes. Next, the Expressman has returned. You no longer run out of space, giving stuff to Expressman with each floor you go down. So you have more Expressman space overall. Massive buffs, random rolls have been changed dramatically. Reigns now can roll main stats up to 2, and everything can roll movement speed. Weapons, armors, reins, pendants, cloaks. Boots have been slightly nerfed and go up to 3 move speed now. Gear score bracket, HR is now from 0 to 224 rather than from 125 to 224, and has a 100 gold entry fee. So you can 0 to hero in HR once again. The other thing is that 224 is up to legendary drops and unique drops, whereas 225 plus allows for artifact to drop, which kind of brings us to this one right here. Artifacts is a new tier. Artifacts are considered weapons that have a unique name, whereas unique gear is just gear that is at the unique tier. They've also changed unique gear to give you 5 of the same roll rather than to give you 5 different rolls. So you can get like 15% bonus physical damage or like 60 bonus magic resist on a single piece of unique gear. It's wild. I believe you can also get like 5 true fizz on gloves, something wild like that. Speaking of the market is actually closed for 2 first weeks. So no trading with players and no buying off the market. So resources are scarce. Loot, drop parity, scales gradually with Q. You have to play 225s to be able to grind for artifact. Gear score on items has been changed. Used to be that head and hands and boots were quite cheap, about 12 points for uncommon. Now it starts at 15 at uncommon and goes way higher. It's no longer most efficient to go 4 square pieces. You can go chest pieces. The weight also on weapons has been lowered dramatically. Bringing in and go weapons is basically the best bet you can do for 124 runs. More major changes. Boss summoning has been added for HR mode. There's a craftable item that spawns all the bosses that aren't on the first floor of ruins, which means Crypt's 2 bosses, Lich and Warlord, Ghostskin in Hell, Wyvern in Abyss. Troll, Cyclops, Spectral Knight, and Banshee are just there at all times, including HR. Here are the 4 craftables. Each of these is a one-time use to summon the boss in HR. Crafting has been changed, so shop is now account-based. Francesca axes or throwing knives. You can buy 10 all from one character, not have to switch between characters to buy more. Craftable items have been also limited to about 3 per account, which means now you can't swap around to test for the best base roll craft between characters because it won't give you different ones. They are all shared across the board, which is more convenient, but also kind of makes it harder to get that base roll gear. You really have to keep checking into the shop for that. New hell mobs have been added. The demon imp is like the frost imp, but it heals the mobs. Ghouls are basically just the hell version of frost dogs. Demon flies are something new that create gas clouds from the air. And hell maggots are the worst thing on the planet. They're basically the lava and hell version of spider mummies because they jump around, they block your movement while you're in lava where you can't see them. And it's just extremely frustrating to try to hit them. Hell sub-bosses. Cerberus has a charge attack kind of like the Wyvern, and then has a slam attack kind of like the Wyvern. Dreadspine is basically a Trent that shoots a bunch of spikes. Very scary, very big. And then Abomination is a headbutting bull that has a charge attack and a big swing attack. Kind of in the same vibe of the Centaur. All 3 very cool. Nightmare attack patterns are added to ice spiders, harpies, cockatrice, frost giant shielder, yeti, giant worm, and the wendigo. The yeti you can no longer stray fully right and hog close up because the first left-hand swing is much bigger. So you have to space the first swing and then come back in to dodge the second swing. So don't hug hard at the first swing. Try to give it a little space and bait that first attack and you'll be fine. The Frost Giant Shielder, I believe you can get behind him when he does the slam attack. Ruins modules, they've added a couple new modules, 2 or 3 new ones in there. Mob movement has been quite improved where they don't take as long to get stuck on a player. And if there's another player from the same team, they'll just kind of switch to that target pretty quickly. They're just looking to attack as often as possible rather than try to cling to whatever target hit them last. So if it's a melee mob, it won't just keep chasing whoever. It'll just be like, oh, there's someone close by I can attack. I'm just going to prioritize attacking rather than moving. A little bit more predictable when it's actually going to switch aggro versus not. Bosses change the HP and damage. Ghost King now does 90% health damage per screen, which is bonkers insane. Class changes. Massive nerfs to Sorcerer. CDR hard cap is now at 65 instead of 95%. It used to be that with Elemental Fury and with good resourcefulness, you could get to 95% cooldown very quickly with Time Distort being present to give you the instant cast, making Sword kind of crazy. But this hard cap is actually really insane. It's just a huge, massive nerf to Sorc and Elemental Fury. Time Distortion now applies a minus 30% action speed debuff when casting spells. It's really bad, and it's to the point that Time Distort has so many downsides. It's suffering from the same thing that Manifold suffered from. Why would I trade move speed nerf for the sake of cooldowns if move speed nerf works against the playstyle I'm trying to achieve? It's anti-synergy all over again. Time Distort is suffering from the same thing. The whole point of taking Time Distort is to quicken, make it snappier, the casting experience. By adding a 30% action speed debuff, you are counteracting the advantage of Time Distortion. So Time Distortion becomes just a nerf, a straight nerf. The time gained from instacast is lost at the action speed part now. So why would you take Time Distort over a not having the perk at all? Not having the perk is almost better than having the perk. I think this means Knowledge Sorc is coming back, and that just means Sorc is just turning into Wizard. Like, it's just because it's becoming Wizard, and it's losing all of its identity around being a cooldown chaos storm of spell slinging. Not as bad as losing 99% of your move speed while throwing a spell. God, Apex of Sorcery still, I can't believe it. Next, Sorc Buff. Stone Scan duration improved to 15 seconds and the PDR improved to 15%. Definitely nice. Again, they're going into that all-in strategy, but again, Time Distortion being nerfed while Stone Skin being improved. It just makes no sense because Stone Skin being improved improves the all-in, but Time Distort being nerfed actually nerfs the all-in because now it takes longer to execute the combo and you're less likely to catch people with the combo, making the point of using the combo neutralized. PDR curve has been adjusted so that the lower end of PDR is weaker and it's better at the higher ends. Probably a nerf to Bard the most. Basically, non-plate users' armor is lower. Gear. Crystal Sword, faster swap speed, and overall better swing speed. Definitely Crystal Sword buff. It feels much better now. Cloak of Darkness, instead of having 2 rolls at rare, so craftable should have 3. It now has 3, so a bit of a buff. Illusory now leaves an after image, just like normal invis. No longer true invis for like 4 to 6 seconds. Big changes to weapon damage. Rapier and Longsword got massive nerfs. Longsword losing about 5 damage base on every tier, and Rapier losing about 3. Very crazy nerfs to one of the most loved weapons in the game. Not only because they're strong, but because they're just playstyle being iconic and being a signature of a lot of classes. This is nerfs to like Longsword Fighter, Warlock, Sorc, and then Bard losing Rapier, Rogue losing Rapier. So those are really actually nerfs to those classes. Short Sword being buffed technically makes Slayer Fighter better, makes Rogue can go Short Sword now, which Short Sword has like 6 more damage than Rapier now, which is insane discrepancy. So Short Sword is very meta now. Other changes, AP, they fixed the menu brightness, so menu brightness actually stays bright now. They brought it back. Zombie Skin now has a -5 debuff percent that actually makes your debuffs longer on you rather than shorter. So Zombie Skin now has an actual proper downside. Market now unlocks at level 20 on from 1 character for the entire account. Now our slots are 10 slots across the entire account rather than having 10 sales slots per character. So that's definitely a big nerf. New NPC, the Cockatrice. Potion crafting has been hugely buffed where a single leaf grants you 3 potions of the better tier. That means 1 green phantom flower gives you 3 blue tier protection pods. 1 blue tier phantom flower gives you 3 purple tier protection pods. Collecting flowers is insane biz if you need pods for PvPing. New throwables, poison vial, and ghost dust pouch. The crafting requirements on these are kind of high, with ectoplasm for the ghost dust pouch, I believe. This seems a little bit far-fetched, and we're never going to see people bringing these in. Because especially considering explosive models become literally every other chest or every other mob has an explosive bottle on it now. Craftables, Staff of Gluttony, Crystal Frost Rain, and Tome of Sheol. I've looked at these stats and they look not really anything that interesting. So Tome of Sheol, we thought that the tome would build out of Banshee's bonnet, but no, apparently it will not. What reason we have for that? No real reason, just it won't. But maybe in the future, maybe they're saving it for some other thing. They just didn't come up with a good idea, so they just made a tome to have a tome, and then maybe they'll change it later. Hopefully they do, because that Banshee's bonnet really needs something. Otherwise, Banshee just has nothing going for her. Reward tokens have been buffed significantly. Uniques are possible to drop insane. Goblin Merchant now offers a little bit more items. Squire, more options for Sorc and Druid. A couple of bug fixes. Weird nerf to Arena where Caps Lock doesn't open the scoreboard anymore. They're still looking for places to patch up for Sorc. Item status, this is in light of a season pass that they sold, which gives you an extra stash tab and coin bags that you get with that. The 5 coin bags that you get are non-tradable. You cannot get rid of them or trade them on the market, so they're not permitted for trade. That's why they've added this thing. Other stuff, new cosmetics, Twitch drops has been going on. Very cool cosmetics. This is a huge W. Demigod emote, you press T to interact with the Demigod emote. It's pretty cool because it adds a light behind you. It's not just you. It's not as cool as I'd like, but it's cool that other people can interact with it. But I'm sure there'll be emotes where you can interact with each other and create like a joined emote. So I don't think this will be a unique thing, but I guess it's the first one of its kind. And the really big annoying nerf in the hidden changes that they didn't mention, when you're sitting, you can no longer sort your inventory, which means that the stash sorting emote now makes 0 sense because I can't sit and sort while I'm sorting visually. Ridiculous change, but there we have it. So overview, I think adding the PvE mode is the lowest effort but best option they could have come up with to create a tutorial area for new players. I think this is really good for that, but I think it builds really bad habits for seasoned players. I highly recommend not really playing this unless you absolutely need gear, which I guess you would need now, but you know, I don't think this mode is healthy for you because you'll get used to running into teammates, you'll get used to being able to hit teammates with no damage to them, and you're going to get used to hearing players around you and reacting neutrally rather than starting to pay attention and being sharp and being like, okay, we have to deal with these players now. I think it's a double-edged sword to add PvE mode because you're separating the PvEers from the PvPers in the PvPvE genre, and overall I've seen this trend. When you do this, it can cascade heavily into completely killing the game. So just be very, very careful when you add the extra cues that divide those different aspects of the game. But so far I've seen that the mode is not really that big a deal. I honestly think you shouldn't even see other players. It should just be a solo run, but Expressman returning is fantastic. The main stats is going to inflate power like crazy. The HR being from 0 I think is a good idea. The 100 gold entry is also probably fair. Market being closed is, I think, absolutely sick. This is what Tarkov does. I think this makes me much more confident to go into PvP, into different brackets, because I know that gear is not going to be as crazy because the availability is much smaller at the start of wipe, which is how it should be. The availability should grow over time as the wipe progresses. Making boss summonable is super cool thematically. It means that you have to make the drop rates much better. Otherwise, it's just so much less worth it to go through all the trouble. Crafting, I think, also is good and bad. New mobs is cool. The change to Ghost Skin, they need to fix that. It's just more frustrating to fight Ghost Skin now instead of more challenging. I would say just double his HP or something and maybe make the pools disappear more quickly. I think that would make for a more interesting fight with Ghost Skin. Massive nerfs to Sorc, I think, again, It's going to be down to now a knowledge Sorc build. I think is going to be the best overall with True Mag, especially considering Whale being so heavily nerfed. I think Time Destroyer is just at this point such a downside that it just isn't worth it. You're much better off spending that 0.5, 0.3 seconds per cast and going that knowledge build investment and having really nice cooldowns than dealing with a slow action speed. That action speed part is just such a big deal. It just isn't worth giving up action speed for the cast speed. Knowledge and dexterity is kind of the way to go, I think, on Sorc. Stone Skin is definitely a nice buff. I've thought about even, what if you just did like a PDR via this tanky menace that just burns people with true magic? Kind of like Cleric, but with range. Weapon damage change is just something that really is going to be tricky to get used to. They overshot this change. A lot of nice quality of life changes. I'm really happy with the cosmetics. The potion crafting, I think, is a huge W because people just hoard potions, never use them because of just how valuable they are to just hold. But now that it's so much easier to get them from the plants, I think people will actually more actively just go through their potions and actually go ahead and use them because replenishing them is so much easier. And I guess that's mainly it for the release patch. Like if you found this useful, comment what you think of the patch, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about my next patch rundown. And see you in the dungeons.